Today I stand before you, not to promise easy victories, but to illuminate a path you can walk with every breath you take. The mind is not a cruel tyrant, it is a masterful instrument. When you learn to hold it with humility, it becomes your greatest ally. When you underestimate it, it becomes your loudest critic. The power you seek does not come from changing the world first, it comes from changing the way you relate to your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own actions. You are not a slave to your moods. You are the architect of your moments. Every thought you entertain is a brick in the structure of your life, built with intention, built with discipline, built with compassion for yourself, for the road you're carving, for the person you are becoming. Here are the principles that move the inner mountains and quiet the inner storms. Observe before you react. Sit with the thought and name it. Not every impulse deserves attention. Not every fear demands a response. The moment you pause and observe, you gain a compass. Let awareness be your first action. Define your desired state. Decide what kind of mind you want to carry through the day. Calm, clear, resilient, courageous. Write it down if you must. A clearly chosen state is a magnet that directs your attention and energy when chaos arises. Master your breath. Master your temperature. Breath is the rudder of the nervous system. Inhale for a count of 4. Exhale for 4. Let each exhale release tension. Each inhale invite focus. Calm breath is the hinge on which control swings. Label and reframe. Do not suppress. When a negative thought surfaces, label it honestly. That's fear or that's doubt. Then reframe. That fear is protecting me from risk I don't need to take. Or doubt is a signal to prepare, not to quit. Your mind seeks meaning. Give it a constructive meaning. Create rituals that support your state. Small, repeatable actions. And cue your brain into a powerful mood. A 5-minute journaling practice. A quick daily walk. A morning mantra. A nightly reflection. Rituals build consistency. And consistency sculpts character. Tame the environment that shapes you. Your surroundings whisper to your brain every hour. Curate noise. Choose influences. Arrange space for focus and recovery. Reduce friction to your best choices and elevate friction to your worst temptations. Practice compassionate discipline. Discipline without compassion is rigidity. Compassion without discipline is chaos. Hold yourself accountable with kindness. When you slip, acknowledge it, learn, reset, and proceed with renewed resolve. Align action with values. Your best self acts in accordance with what you truly believe is worth pursuing. When you are aligned, emotion becomes energy for progress, not a storm to drown in. Ask, what would a person of character do in this moment? Small wins, big momentum. Start with micro choices. You can win consistently. A 4-minute focus sprint, a single page written, a phone call made to someone who matters. Momentum compounds when rooted in steady practice. The power of rest and recovery. Mind control is not a battle without rest. Sleep, nourishment, play, and stillness refuel your inner muscles. A rested mind makes wiser, calmer, stronger decisions. Let this be your pledge. You will train your mind not by force, but by thoughtful, patient devotion. You will become the kind of person who turns stumbling blocks into stepping stones, who faces storms with an ordinary breath that becomes extraordinary calm, who transforms emotion into energy you choose to harness. If you want to change the weather inside, you must commit to a daily weather routine. Start small, repeat faithfully, and elevate gradually. The mind is a garden. With daily tending, it will yield resilience, clarity, and an unshakable sense of purpose. Now, seize this moment. Decide that today marks the beginning of your deliberate mastery. Gather your tools, set your intention, and step into the room of your own mind with quiet confidence. Observe before you react. This is the moment where you decide the direction of your day without speaking a word. It is the quiet, almost invisible hinge that can swing a moment from chaos to clarity. When you pause, you give yourself space, a precious currency in a world that prizes speed over sense. In that pause, you invite honesty to step onto the stage. You notice the impulse bubbling up. You notice the tension in your shoulders. You notice the split second in which fear, anger, or frustration tries to hijack your behavior. By slowing down, you tilt the balance from reflex to reflection. Name the thought as it arises. Don't pretend it isn't there, and don't let it masquerade as a fact. Say to yourself, that's worry, or that's impulse, or that's frustration. Naming is a form of validation that doesn't surrender to the emotion. It disarms it. It creates distance, not denial. Once the thought is named, you gain the leverage to choose how arms it. What comes next? Instead of being carried along by momentum, the next moment is no longer a raw eruption, but a field of possibilities. Then choose your response. Not every rush of feeling deserves a reply. Not every trigger requires your immediate attention. You can decide to breathe, to research, to ask a clarifying question, to step away, or to proceed with a deliberate, measured action. Each deliberate choice reinforces your power. You are no longer a hostage to your first instinct, but a curator of your own behavior. In that small, disciplined act of pause, you lay the groundwork for outcomes that align with your highest aims. Define your desired state. This is your compass when the weather inside turns turbulent. Begin by naming the mood you intend to inhabit for the day, the tone you wish your decisions to carry, the energy you want to radiate when others lean on you. It is not a vague wish, but a precise target. Calm under pressure, clear focus, steady resilience, compassionate firmness. Write it down, repeat it aloud, and revisit it often until it becomes a reflex. When chaos rises, you will instinctively anchor to that image and let it steer your actions rather than your anxieties. Create a vivid portrait of that state. See yourself moving through moments with posture and breath aligned to your intended tempo. Picture your face relaxed, your shoulders ease, your voice measured, your eyes attentive. Imagine your mind as a steady harbor where storms briefly batter the shore but never breach the calm within. The more concrete the portrait, the more your nervous system recognizes it as the path of least resistance. Translate intention into daily rituals. A single practice can become the hinge that holds your day in balance. Quick breathing rounds to reset, a 60-second mental rehearsal before meetings, a short pause to check alignment with your core values. These micro-commitments are the scaffolding that keeps your desired state within reach when demand spikes. Make it scalable, not brittle. Your state should adapt to different pressures while preserving its essence. When overwhelm approaches, you return to the core. What kind of mind do I aim to carry? What kind of heart do I want to express? What kind of life do I want to build? And you remember that the answer lives in the desired state I choose to inhabit today. Master your breath. Master your temperature. Breath is not merely air. It is a bridge between the body and the mind, a living dial you can turn to tune your inner climate. When nerves are frayed and the day presses in, the first action you can take that costs nothing is to anchor your breath. Start with the simplest pattern. Inhale for 4, exhale for 4. Feel the air fill the lungs. Feel the chest soften as you release. With each cycle, invite a small shift, slower, steadier, deeper. This is not a trick. It is a return to your own physics, a return to your natural resting rhythm that you have learned to override with hurry and fear. Use breath to reset the temperature of your emotions. In moments of anger, heat climbs and judgment foments. A deliberate exhale cools the room inside your skull, granting space for observation. In moments of doubt, the breath becomes a steady metronome that steadies the cadence of your thoughts, inviting a pause that prevents impulsive leaps. Temperature also responds to breath. A breath that spans long, controlled exhales gradually lowers agitation, while firm, quick inhales can re-energize you when fatigue is whispering defeat. Pair breath with posture, shoulders back, jaw relaxed, chest open, as if you are inviting air to circulate freely through your entire system. Practice triggers. A quick breath before answering a question, a 5-cycle reset before a confrontation. A mindful breath during a tense drive home. Over time, these breaths become second nature, turning the stubborn heat of stress into a manageable, even teachable signal. Label and reframe. When a negative thought rises, you don't pretend it isn't there, and you don't let it masquerade as truth. You give it a name. You bring it into daylight. You separate the signal from the noise. It might be fear. It might be doubt. It might be a whisper of inadequacy. The Tori Chadin, the Tori Chadin, the Tori Chadin, Dito unto daylight akuki j vantanasana to build. Act of labeling is not surrender, it is inventory. By naming the emotion, you stop it from hijacking your judgment and you reduce its gravity to a manageable size. This simple linguistic shift creates space between you and the thought, a window through which you can observe rather than react. Next, reframe with intention. Translate the label into a more useful meaning. Fear as a signal to prepare, doubt as a cue to gather information, anger as a call to establish boundaries. Reframing does not deny reality, it redefines your relationship to it. Instead of riding the emotional wave, you ride the understanding that emotions are data, not directives. You ask, what does this feeling want me to know, and what action would align with my values in this moment? Turn the reframed thought into action. If you feel overwhelmed, respond with a micro step that preserves your agency. If you feel unworthy, counter with a fact about your progress or a reminder of your purpose. If you feel resistant, choose a small forward motion, one email, one page, one deliberate breath until momentum returns. In this practice, you become a curator of your inner climate, selecting thoughts that advance your cause rather than drain your energy. Create daily rituals. These are the tiny, repeatable acts that stitch resilience into your day, turning intention into automatic performance. Rituals are not empty routines. They are trains that carry your best version from platform to platform, even when the station is crowded with distractions. Start with one anchor moment you can preserve no matter what unfolds. Perhaps a 5-minute morning check-in, a deliberate pause before you open your inbox, or a short walk after lunch. Each anchor is a doorway through which energy, focus, and steadiness flow back into your system. Design rituals that honor your values and your real-life tempo. If mornings are rushed, craft a compact sequence, a quick gratitude note, a 3-item priority list, and a breath cycle to set the nervous system. If evenings are unpredictable, cultivate a brief reflection that you carry forward into tomorrow, a question you answer in writing, or a tiny ritual like lighting a candle and listening to a single song that steadies you. The goal is consistency, not perfection. Small, dependable actions accumulate, shaping your neural pathways and resculpting your self-image around discipline that feels natural rather than forced. Pair rituals to cues in your environment. A mug of tea at 9 a.m. becomes a reminder to reset attention. A 5-minute stretch after a call cues a different posture and energy. Track your adherence with a simple log, but keep the focus on how you feel when you complete the ritual, not just what you accomplish. In time, these deliberate habits become the steady drumbeat of your day. You extend your capacity by honoring the rhythm you set. Shape your environment. Your surroundings whisper to your brain every hour, shaping choices before you even realize it. This is not about magic. It's about engineering a setting that supports your best self. Start by auditing the spaces where you spend the most time, the desk, the kitchen, the car, the checkout line in your grocery routine. Remove the obvious friction. Pile up tasks you don't want to do at the moment. Hide the temptations you're likely to indulge. Mute the distractions that pull you away from what matters. If your inbox is a drain, create dedicated windows for checking and replying rather than an open door all day. If you're tempted by snacks, plant healthier alternatives at eye level and move the junk to harder to reach spots. Curate the influences that fill your minutes. Replace noise with cues that sharpen your focus. Meaningful playlists, brief inspirational notes, a wallpaper that reminds you of your purpose, or a single object that anchors your breathing and posture. Tidy spaces become tidy minds. Cluttered balls enter your and die. Clutter conveys a suggestion you can't handle small tasks. The atmosphere you cultivate also includes the people you allow near your attention. Communicate boundaries, seek allies who model the behaviors you're shaping, and reduce the time spent with energy vampires who drain momentum. Create boundary rituals that protect your best hours. A 5-minute reset before deep work, a deliberate transition ritual when arriving home, a digital sunset that signals the brain to slow down. These micro edges compound into a reinforced ecosystem, one that harmonizes your internal state with the external world. The environment you design becomes an ally in your growth, not a neutral backdrop.